I am now joined live by Vishnu Shom. Vishnu, the latest where you are and just how significant is this Russian ceasefire? It's temporary, it's limited to Mariupol and surrounding areas, we're told.
That's right. It is a limited ceasefire which extends to the southern city of Mariupol and maybe one other area. The time given for these evacuations on humanitarian grounds has not been specified. It starts at about 10 a.m. Local time, and therefore it's something that, a lot of people who are trying to evacuate from eastern and southern parts of Ukraine would be looking out for. I'm actually on my way now to Lviv train station, where there are separate trains which have come in with a lot of people who have evacuated in the last couple of hours. So the process of evacuations continues. This is, I would like to reassert, just a small move. As far as anybody here is concerned, there is no doubt that the military attacks continue in other parts of this country, and in the areas where a ceasefire has taken place, they will resume sooner than later. So this is a small step. It would help countless families who've been stranded, unable to get out of Mariupol and some of the other areas where the ceasefire extends. But the real worry now is what happens next. Are we looking at the next wave of mass displacement of people, refugees in their own country, in a sense, internally displaced people? Where would they stay? What would they do? Would they be heading across the borders? These are questions which remain unanswered. But certainly for those looking to save their lives, the opportunity of getting out of some of these areas is absolutely huge. Now, right. Humanitarian corridors being opened would imply the resumption of some limited train services from these areas and perhaps some bus services as well. But just getting to western Ukraine at this juncture, despite the ceasefire, is going to be a huge challenge for people. We've seen that a few days back when actually traveling within Ukraine was almost impossible.
But Vishnu, humanitarian corridors aside, capturing Mariupol, a city of about 450,000 people, would this represent a bigger prize for the Russian forces? What is this going to mean for Ukraine's maritime access also, given that this is a key strategically located port?
Access. I think that's what Vladimir Putin is trying to ensure, that cut maritime access, cut off by controlling the major centers, he hopes to extend his control to other parts of this country. And that's what the strategy has been all around. Controlling ports, number one. Number two, controlling power centers. These are all ways in which the attempt is being made to actually grab power, to hold on to power, hold on to areas. And, a part of, a siege sort of setup where if you control the infrastructure, you control the assets, you control the ports, then you control the inflow of food, you control the inflow of supplies, all of that. So that is what the attempt right now is, and people over here continue to resist. But I think it's absolutely clear that, and in terms of the overall Ukraine story, this is not a country that's folding or collapsing immediately by any means. This is a lengthy siege, it's a lengthy battle, it's a bloody battle already. The Russian forces have suffered casualties, the Ukrainians want to fight, they continue to be supported by the West. So this is something that's going to go on now for several months, if not indefinitely. So what happens between now and finally, we don't know. But we can only welcome the fact that some people, and I would actually suggest a lot of people, would get the opportunity to escape from their homes to relative safety in western parts of this country.
Right, Vishnu, given Russia's superior weapons, air power, its use of artillery, one would have thought this would have been a foregone conclusion by now, but Ukraine has managed to sort of withstand this, and now we're looking at day 10 already. So as you're saying, are we then looking at a protracted war situation, and what are the other possible scenarios that we could look at this point?
I don't think there is any other scenario, because NATO has refused to extend a no-fly zone over Ukraine. Ukraine's President Zelensky says that is completely unacceptable. He keeps putting pressure on the West to try and do that. Now, if there is a no-fly zone, Russia doesn't control the airspace over this country, then militarily it would be a huge setback to the Russians. But at this juncture, I would tell you that Russia, even now in this present situation, doesn't entirely control airspace over Ukraine. Ukraine has a fairly formidable defense. We have seen that in the last couple of days. They've taken out Russian helicopters and fighter aircraft as well. There is an inflow, a steady inflow of Western weaponry, by which primarily these would be surface-to-air missile systems, shoulder-borne. which would assist, guerrilla fighters and fighters dispersed across the country of Ukraine, and also shoulder-mounted anti-tank missiles. Now, we've already seen American Javelin missiles provided by Western forces taking out any number of Russian tanks. So these weapons are incredible force multipliers. It means that any Russian advance to other parts of the country, would be slowed down significantly.